What's up, everybody? Sujit Patel here. We're back at the virtual summit. Today, I'm talking to Laura Sicola. I'm really excited to talk to you today because, first of all, I've probably been doing all the things you say in your TED Talks, in your book, wrong. Her book is Speaking to Influence, Mastering Your Leadership Voice. And Laura's going to talk to you about leadership communication and really a lot more. And this is all, if you guys get the theme of this, we're tackling sales from different angles. You heard about listening, you've heard about social selling, you've heard about cold calling, manager team, what have you. So at the end of the summit, we hope you can master the sales. Without further ado, Laura, thank you again for joining. Would you mind giving everybody a quick intro on yourself and your background?
Sure. Thank you again, Sujan, for having me. This is really exciting. I love working with salespeople, love working with entrepreneurs, people who are the brains behind the operation, but realize that if they're really going to have the success that they want, they have to be the face and the voice in front of it. You can't just know it all up here. If you can't get it out in a way that everybody else is going to go, oh, I totally get it, then you're missing the mark. People have to get it, and which means they have to get you. And the way that you communicate your message is going to make that initial connection stick and open the floodgates to all sorts of other kinds of opportunities, connections, and hopefully sales and long-term relationships, or it's going to send people in the wrong direction right from the get-go. So that's where I really hope that we can make a big difference today. You know, my background, I'm a linguist. So it's all about looking at the way the brain processes language and speech, and also the mental, the emotional, the psychological filters that we have that influence the way we interpret what we hear and the way we try to frame stuff, which sometimes doesn't work. And the question then is, why doesn't it work? Why is there a gap between what I think I say and what you think you hear, right? Why is it sometimes that you don't get it when I talk? Why don't you see the brilliance? Or why are you defensive when I don't understand when I think I'm being nice? All that stuff. So when we can boil it down and figure out what's actually causing that disconnect, you reverse engineer it, and that's where the magic happens.
Awesome. And in your book, you talk about the importance of establishing credibility and getting people to buy into you before they buy into the product. Can we talk a little bit about that? Like, what are the factors, I guess, into credibility or people buying into you? I'm sure there's a lot, but, kind of how do we get into this?
Sure. So there's two levels, right? There's the why it matters, and there's the so what do we do about it part. Mm-hmm. And on the one hand, with the why does it matter? I mean, think of it this way. I'm a leadership communications coach. So if I were talking to you and I said, so I'm Laura Sicola and my company is Vocal Impact Productions, and I work with a lot of startups and groups like Comcast. I was at Comcast today. I did a training there. And see where I'm going with this?
Yeah.
Like, everything I said is true. I was actually just at Comcast a couple of hours ago, but you're listening and you're going, okay, I don't know why she'd lie, but I don't get it. Like, really? That's what she does? That's what, there's a disconnect. I'm just not buying it. You have to buy into me as the representative of my product, my service, my company, before you're going to buy my product or my service or buy something from my company. So you are your product. The investors, venture capitalists, and others that I work with have an expression: bet the jockey, not the horse. Mm-hmm. So you can have an awesome horse, an awesome product, but if the jockey who's steering it, who's driving, who's riding it, doesn't really know what they're doing, that horse is not going to win. So you can have the best product in the world, but if you as the rep, as the salesman, as the representative, doesn't really seem to get it, it's like, I'm not buying into you, so I'm not going to give you money for your product either. So it's really critical to set that first connection and having people buy into you. Make sense?
Yeah, totally makes sense. Yeah, especially when you kind of just set it out loud. I'm like, oh, that totally makes sense. I've had so many sales calls where the person on the other end just doesn't sound, maybe not enthusiastic, or I don't hear it in their voice that they care.
And we can talk about that later on. So for every now and then I'll get a cold call, and it'll be somebody who I can tell within 8 seconds is actually in 8 words, which is about 2 seconds, that they're reading from a script. And I'm just going, wow, okay.
Yeah.
Call, because they don't even sound like they know what they're talking about. It's like this robotic, disembodied voice if your heart's not in it, like, why am I going to spend time with you on the phone right now? It's like, I gotta go, thanks. So
Yeah,
that's
makes
really
sense. So you talk about the why. Let's jump into the like where it starts. So yes, you have a problem. You're aware. You want to improve this. Where do you start even tackling this?
sure. What creates that credibility image is the ability to align three different channels all at the same time. If you think about it like a triangle,
Hmm.
and each point is a different channel, all the points have to meet, right? They all have to connect to make one solid triangle, one solid shape. And when you're speaking, your message is that triangle, is that shape. And you want your audience to really focus on what you mean, what you intend, what the importance is, what you need them to get out of it. But the three channels that you're communicating in all at the same time are your verbal channel, which is the words, the content, the what you're saying.
Hmm.
The second channel is the vocal channel, which is the sound of those words as they come out, not just the transcript. The transcript or the script is your what. The voice gives the color to all of it. And then the third channel is the body language or the physical communication, the visual. Now, when you're on the phone, you have much less visual to go on. It still influences, and we can get to that in a little while, but your verbal, which is your words, your vocal, which is your voice, and your visual, which is your body language, when they all match up, you inherently come across as more credible, more authentic, more authoritative, more believable, and you're going to make that connection much more easily. But when they're off, what you see is what I demonstrated a moment ago, where it's like, yeah, I'm a leadership communications coach and I work with executives. What? Doesn't matter that the what I said is right, is correct. You don't care because that disconnect is just making you go, yeah, I'm good. Thanks. So that's what people will pay attention to. They ignore your what and they focus on the how. When it doesn't match, you lose your credibility.
Gotcha. So one of the things we talked about in our prep call, and I think you mentioned this in your book, is about people even being able to hear your, the part of the triangle they can't see over the phone, right? So they can see body language, your expressions. How does that happen? How do you get
Yeah.
that?
Don't So to everybody out there who makes sales calls on the telephone where you're not looking at them, there's no eye contact, do not be lulled into a false sense of security because you are not hiding from anybody. People can absolutely hear what you look like. They can hear your posture. They can hear what your eyebrows are doing. They can hear whether or not you're smiling. They can hear all sorts of stuff because the muscles all have an influence on the sound of the voice. So let's try an experiment. Will you play with me for a second?
Let's do it.
Okay, so I want you to close your eyes
All
and
right.
I'm going to say a sentence twice.
Okay.
And the only difference between the two is that one time I'm going to raise my eyebrows and one time I'm going to lower them as I say it.
Okay.
I'm not going to tell you which is which in advance. I want you to listen to them both. And then when we're done, you're going to tell me which one had eyebrows up.
All right. So here's for everyone can see. I'm not looking.
Okay, right? And here we go. I'm going to say, let's see. Did Jimmy tell you what happened in school today? Round two. Did Jimmy tell you what happened in school today?
All right. So tell you which one now.
Yep.
All right. I want to say the second one.
Was which? Up or down?
Up.
So why?
Okay.
Tell me
Uh,
why. What did
I
you hear?
think you kind of had a pause where the voice went up or kind of slowed down towards the end when you emphasized what would happen in school today. I think that's